What if a single decision made before boarding could affect your health, comfort, and even your survival odds in an emergency? Every year, over 4 billion passengers take to the skies, yet most travelers select their seats without understanding the profound implications behind this choice. Welcome to the World Documentaries, where today we're unveiling the fascinating science and strategy behind airline seating that most passengers never consider. The aviation industry has invested decades studying passenger behavior, safety data, and health outcomes to understand how seat placement affects the entire flying experience. Recent airline policy changes have completely transformed conventional wisdom about seat selection, turning what frequent flyers once considered the best choice into a potential liability through careful examination of research, studies, airline policies, and expert insights. We'll explore how to make informed decisions that can dramatically improve your next flight. The window seat, privacy and protection. The window seat offers distinct advantages that extend well beyond the obvious pleasure of watching clouds drift past at 30,000 feet. This position provides structural support from the fuselage wall, creating a natural resting surface that many passengers find conducive to sleeping during long flights. The psychological benefit of having a defined personal space with a physical boundary on one side creates a sense of security and control that enhances overall comfort throughout the journey. Research on disease transmission aboard aircraft reveals that choosing a window seat and staying seated significantly lowers your likelihood of coming into contact with infectious diseases compared to other seating positions. Studies indicate your probability of catching a respiratory infection from another passenger is only about 3%, unless that person sits within approximately 3 feet of you. Window seat passengers experience fewer interruptions from fellow travelers moving through the cabin, allowing them to maintain their settled position while others navigate around them. This combination of physical barriers and reduced movement creates the safest health profile of any economy seat location. The window seat. Mobility challenges, however. Window seat selection comes with substantial trade-offs that can transform peaceful flights into exercises in social navigation and physical constraint. The fundamental challenge remains restricted mobility, as passengers must negotiate passage with two strangers whenever nature calls or restlessness demands movement. This creates awkward social dynamics, particularly on longer flights where multiple trips become necessary, forcing passengers to either disturb sleeping neighbors or wait uncomfortably for more convenient moments to move. Temperature control presents another consistent challenge for window seat occupants, as these positions register noticeably cooler than center cabin locations due to proximity to the minimally insulated aircraft exterior. The deplaning process tests patience further, with window passengers typically waiting several additional minutes while rowmates leisurely gather belongings and shuffle toward exits. For travelers with tight connections or urgent bathroom needs, these cumulative constraints can overshadow the initial appeal of scenic views and personal space, making window seats a calculated risk rather than an obvious choice. The aisle seat, freedom and flexibility. For years, experienced travelers have championed the aisle seat as the superior economy class option, valuing unrestricted movement above virtually all other considerations. The ability to stand, stretch, and access lavatories without requesting permission creates autonomy that transforms flying from passive confinement into manageable transit. This freedom becomes particularly valuable on long-haul flights where circulation and comfort breaks prove essential to arriving refreshed rather than cramped and miserable. Strategic advantages extend beyond personal comfort into practical efficiency that affects travel logistics and productivity. Passengers occupying aisle positions typically disembark several minutes faster than those trapped in window seats, providing crucial advantages when navigating tight connection times or racing toward immigration queues. The additional workspace created by judiciously extending an arm into the aisle has made these seats particularly valuable for professionals who need laptop access during flights. Business travelers and frequent flyers have traditionally selected aisle seats at substantially higher rates than other options, demonstrating the premium placed on mobility and flexibility in the travel experience. The aisle seat. Exposure and interruption. Yet the aisle seat experience includes distinct disadvantages that even seasoned travelers struggle to mitigate effectively. Constant interruptions from rowmates requiring passage transform passengers into human gates throughout the flight duration, standing and sitting repeatedly regardless of their own comfort or activities. Flight becomes fragmented by these disruptions, making sustained work, sleep, or relaxation significantly more challenging than the mobility benefits might initially suggest. Health considerations present another sobering reality that medical research has documented extensively. Studies tracking disease transmission patterns aboard aircraft show that aisle seat passengers, particularly those who move frequently, face elevated exposure to infectious agents compared to window seat occupants who remain stationary. The constant flow of passengers and crew members past aisle seats creates opportunities for pathogen transmission that stationary window positions avoid entirely. Additionally, the absence of a solid surface to lean against eliminates comfortable sleeping positions, leaving passengers to doze upright or risk the indignity of nodding off onto a stranger's shoulder during overnight flights. The middle seat, universal disadvantage. The middle seat stands universally condemned as aviation's most undesirable real estate, combining the worst elements of both window and aisle positions while offering virtually no compensating benefits. Airlines implicitly acknowledge this reality through pricing strategies, with middle seats frequently remaining unsold until final boarding calls, and some carriers now experimenting with policies specifically designed to minimize middle seat assignments. The experience involves being sandwiched between strangers with no window access, no wall support, and disputed armrest territory, despite unwritten etiquette suggesting middle passengers deserve priority claim. The psychological impact of middle seat confinement cannot be understated, as passengers report elevated discomfort and reduced satisfaction regardless of flight duration or aircraft type. Traditional consolation suggests that middle seat occupants should at least enjoy uncontested access to both adjacent armrests, yet this courtesy rarely materializes in practice as more assertive neighbors claim these territories. The sole practical advantage of middle seating involves potentially higher chances of row upgrades when airlines need to accommodate passengers, though this occurs too rarely to offset the consistent discomfort. For most travelers, middle seats represent assignments to be avoided through advanced selection, status privileges, or strategic booking rather than positions to be voluntarily chosen. The game-changing WILMA system is a development that has fundamentally altered the strategic calculus of seat selection. United Airlines implemented the WILMA boarding protocol, standing for window, middle, and aisle, which prioritizes economy passengers based on seat position rather than arrival time or fare class. This revolutionary system boards window seat passengers first, followed by middle seat occupants, with aisle passengers entering the aircraft last, designed to reduce boarding time complications and passenger interference. The implementation represents the most significant procedural change to economy boarding in recent aviation history. The implications extend far beyond boarding efficiency into the critical realm of overhead bin access, transforming previously desirable aisle seats into potential liabilities for carry-on travelers. Because overhead compartment space operates strictly on a first-come first-served basis, our passengers now face the stark reality of boarding last with substantially higher probability of finding compartments completely full. This forces gate checking of carry-on luggage, introducing delays at baggage claim, increased damage risks, and the anxiety of uncertain luggage arrival. For frequent travelers who have built entire strategies around carry-on, efficiency, and aisle seat selection, WILMA represents a complete reversal of decades-established wisdom about optimal economy seating. Strategic positioning, front, middle, and back beyond the fundamental choice between window, middle, and aisle lies sophisticated cabin positioning strategy that separates casual travelers from aviation experts. Forward cabin seats offer faster boarding that can secure overhead bin space, priority meal service ensuring preferred options remain available, and expedited deplaning that saves precious minutes for connections or immigration queues. However, airlines typically assign families with infants to forward bulkhead positions, potentially transforming the front cabin into an acoustic challenge during flights, particularly on overnight routes when undisturbed rest becomes the priority. The rear cabin presents an intriguing alternative that sophisticated travelers increasingly favor despite conventional assumptions about desirability. Analysis of aviation accident data reveals that passengers seated in the rear third of aircraft demonstrate improved survival outcomes compared to those in forward sections, though such incidents remain extraordinarily rare events. The back of the plane also offers substantially higher probability of securing entire empty rows, as middle seats in rear sections remain unassigned at notably higher rates than forward equivalents. Center row aisle seats on wide-body aircraft represent perhaps the ultimate insider strategy, providing aisle access and mobility while minimizing the likelihood of disturbing fellow passengers. Since travelers seated beside you maintain alternate exit paths for lavatory access, the science of airplane seating reveals complexities that most passengers never consider, with each position offering distinct advantages aligning with different priorities and travel circumstances. Understanding these trade-offs empowers travelers to make strategic decisions that transform flying from an endurance test into an optimized experience tailored to individual needs. The recent implementation of the WILMA boarding system at United Airlines, with potential adoption by other carriers, has fundamentally rewritten established rules that frequent flyers once considered universal gospel about seat selection. Tools like Seat Guru provide detailed seat maps and color-coded ratings for over 1,000 aircraft configurations across hundreds of airlines, helping passengers identify superior seats and avoid problematic positions before confirming reservations. As you plan your next journey, consider not only personal preferences but also specific flight circumstances including duration, aircraft type, airline policies, and luggage strategy. We invite you to join the World Documentaries community by subscribing to our channel, where we explore hidden systems and fascinating science behind everyday experiences shaping modern life. Share your airplane seating strategies and WILMA experiences in the comments below. Until next time, may your overhead bins be accessible and your travels filled with discovery.